Hello and welcome to episode 74 of the She Must Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. We had a really nice week. It's the last week before school starts. I just have the weekend to go and then Avery is back to school. I have my days, my schedule, everything back, which is especially nice because of the order that I mentioned last week. I have a really large wholesale order that I'm working on right now. And having the extra time during the day will be very helpful. But yeah, we had a really nice week. We went to the zoo this week. She's been to a Wonderland a couple of times with her dad. And we've just kind of been doing the last little bit of preparation. We went shopping. She got a new backpack for school. So that's made her a little bit more excited about starting. She's just, if you ask her if she's looking forward to school, her basic answer is that she's looking forward to seeing her friends and stuff like that, but she doesn't want to do the homework. She hates the homework, and yeah, she's not looking forward to that, but she got a new backpack, so she's looking forward to, bringing that to school. She got a new pair of indoor shoes that she likes, so she's looking forward to wearing those. So yeah, it's just been that kind of week, a few last summer things, a few, last minute school preparations. And then after this weekend, everything's just going to start all over again. And before we know it, it's going to be Christmas. It's crazy, but it's true. It's true. Don't get mad at me. It's true. So what do I have for you today? I actually have two finished objects to show you today. I have no works in progress. I finished these two items very recently. I haven't cast anything on, but I have plans and we are going to talk about those plans. I have some soon to be cast-ons that I know I'm going to be starting soon. I have a bunch of projects that I'm kind of thinking of. I haven't quite decided what I want to do. So I'm going to show you the projects that I finished. And then we are going to do a monthly goals update. So what my goals were for August, what I ended up completing, what my goals for September are going to be. And then we are going to do a bingo card kind of evaluation. I want to see where I am on my yearly bingo card, my goals for the year at this point in the year, knowing that I have 4 months left to complete all the things that I wanted to complete. We are going to look at what's left. We are going to look at, what's doable, what's not. Is there anything that I'm going to have to kind of tweak what my original plan was based on time restraints? And so we're going to have a look at that at the end there. So let's get started with the knitting. I'm going to have a quick sip. I have my friend's mug is back and I have some tea. I'm back to drinking tea. I go through phases. If you've been watching for a while, I go through phases. I'll drink coffee for a while and then I'll have iced tea. Over the summer, I was really enjoying iced tea. I'm back to hot tea. I think I'm just in that fall mindset. Even though it's a beautiful sunny day today, I am just thinking about fall, and so we've got some tea. And then we are going to start with my finished objects. So the first one I'm going to share with you is my finished August Desert Vista Dyeworks sock. So if you are not familiar, the dyer Susan, who is behind the yarns, Desert Vista Dyeworks, she has a yearly competition where you just have to knit a pair of socks out of her yarn every month. And there's incentives and prizes and stuff that kind of accumulate. So if you only do, 2 months, there's a certain reward for that. If you do 3 months, there's a reward, 6 months reward. And then if you end up doing the whole year, 1 pair of socks every month for a whole year, you get an exclusive skein for those people. So last year I did the whole year. This year I was just planning on doing the first 6 months for sure, and then I'd see how I felt, and I'm still really enjoying it, so I'm going to push on. And this is my August pair. These are for me. I have got, I think, most of my gift pairs done for the year, so I'm back to knitting socks for myself. This is the colorway If They Kill Rick, and I just did a very plain vanilla sock for this month. Sometimes I like to throw a little pattern in, sometimes I throw, a little bit of ribbing in. I just did stockinette this month. So when I am knitting socks for myself, I like to work on 2mm needles. I like to start at the top. I start with 81 stitches. I do about 25 rows of 2x1 rib, and then I go into stockinette for the leg. I like to have about a 5 to 6 inch leg before starting to heel. I do a triangular shaped heel, which I have kind of adapted from a pattern I did back in February called the Jangle Socks. I really like working this heel. I really like how it fits my foot. So I've kind of adapted it from that pattern. I did that pattern, I really liked it, and since then I've kind of modified the whole thing into my own vanilla pattern. So I did the triangular heel, I joined back in the round, and once I joined back in the round, I like to decrease my stitches a little bit further, down to about 70 stitches for the foot. Now for this, when I joined back in the round, I think for both socks, I had to cut the yarn and kind of manage the striping a little bit, because this is only a 2-row stripe. Depending on where the color was when I joined back in the round, it was going to be very obvious, like either the one stripe was going to have a jog in it, or it was going to be much, much bigger or much smaller than the ones around it. So I think for both socks, I had to do that. I had to cut the yarn and kind of manage the striping in that area. But I just continue down the foot and I do a little Kitchener on the toe. So I actually finished these yesterday. I believe tomorrow is the last day of the month, so I'm a little bit early, so that is good. I always like when I'm not right at the last minute finishing my monthly socks. I think there's only been 1 or 2 times where I've been knitting into the evening of the last day. For the most part, I'm at least a few days before, if not more than that, which is comfortable for me. So I have finished my August socks, and I have picked out my yarn for September, which I will be able to cast on Sunday. So the one that I'm going to be using for September is this one here, and this is one of her color accent skeins. So she has a whole series on the website, and I believe these ones are available all the time. A lot of her colorways are available for a certain month, and then they kind of go into hibernation until that same month of the next year. I believe her color accents are available all the time. And basically what they are is you get some different shades of like black and gray, and then you get one color. So this is the color accents teal. And while I do have a few skeins that are more fun and more colorful than this, I actually received 2 skeins this week from using my coupon. So after you finish, I think 3 months in a row, you get a 30% off coupon, and I used that coupon on 2 skeins. I received those skeins this week. They are so fun and colorful, and I really, really wanted to pick one of those, but I know that I wear a lot of black and teal in the cooler months, and I am going to love having a pair of socks in these colors to go with those items when I wear those items. So I'm going to make this one for September, and then by the time these are done, the weather should be cooling down just enough that I can start wearing all my hand knit socks, and I will have this pair ready to go and add into my rotation. So this is going to be my September pair. I have yet to decide if I'm going to do like another just plain vanilla pair, or if I'm going to, you know, spice it up a little bit. I don't know, but we will see. But that's the pair that you're going to see cast on for next week. So I'm sure you can guess what my next finished object is. Last week I almost had these finished. If I had been able to work on them for maybe one more day, I think they would have been done. But I have finished Dennis's 3rd pair of socks. So one of my goals on my bingo card this year is to knit my husband Dennis 4 pairs of socks for Christmas. Usually he only gets 1 pair, and my sock drawer is greatly overtaking what he has, and I just decided this year he needs more socks, and so my goal was to make him 4 pairs for Christmas. And this is pair number 3. So this is out of 2 skeins of Peyton's Croy. I believe this is like the blue or green striped brag or something like that. The Peyton's Croy comes in 2 50-gram balls, which is why they don't exactly match. I don't personally care if socks match, but I think I explained it last week that after I finished the first sock, and when I went to pull, start the yarn on the second ball for the second sock, in order to make the match, I would have had to have pulled out quite a bit of yarn, and I was worried that I wouldn't have enough to finish the sock without kind of rejoining that bit that I pulled out. So I just decided to start where I was, and you can see that they're kind of there. So that's where they kind of match. They're about 1 stripe behind, but that doesn't bother me. It's not going to bother him, because this yarn is a little bit thicker, I did knit these on 2.25 millimeters. When I make socks for Dennis, I usually do about 72 stitches, and that's what I did for these. I did the same 2x1 rib, that is just my preferred rib. And then for the heel, I did a German short row heel. I really do like that heel. It's a fast little heel, and it fits him very well, so that's what I did. And his feet are the same size as mine, so I just did the foot length to the size that I would normally knit for myself. So these are done. I can add them to his little pile, and then I only have one more pair to knit for him. And I have picked out that yarn as well, because I do plan on casting that on very shortly too. I was very tempted to cast on something a little more exciting. I really want to do another pair of those micro striped socks using the sock blanks. There's some other yarn that I would really like to make for myself. But I was like, you know what, I only have one more pair of socks to do for him, and then I can block off that bingo square. So let's just get it done so that we're not leaving it until December and knitting to the very last minute. So that is what I'm going to do. So I went through my stash. I have a little, one of these little cubbies further down that way, filled with yarn that I have put aside specifically for him, because he needs like workhorse yarn that's like, you know, the Opal, the Regia, the Peyton's Croy. That's the kind of yarn he needs for his socks. And so I have a whole little bin of yarn like that. And this is the one that I pulled. I originally pulled one that had more grays and stuff in it, but I just thought these colors would be a little bit more fun to work with. You can see there's kind of some tealy greens, and then some like, I don't know, some almost olivey, yellowy greens in there. I just think this is going to knit up really nicely. You can see there's a little drawing there about how it should look. And he wears a lot of greens in these kind of colors, so I think this will be nice. And then this will be the last pair of socks, and then I can just go wild and knit whatever socks I want. That will be, I think, the last gift pair, unless I decide to do some for like Avery's new teacher for Christmas, or if she gets the same bus driver that she's had for the last couple of years. There's this morning bus driver that she's had, I think, at least 2 years. I think the first year she had someone different, but the last 2 years she's had a morning bus driver who I absolutely love. She's such a lovely lady. I was kind of thinking if she gets her again this year, I might make her a pair of socks for Christmas. So unless I decide I need to do something like that, after this pair, my gift socks will be done. So that is all of the knitting that I completed this week. So what we are going to do now is talk about my monthly goals. So what my goals were for August, and what my goals are going to be for September. So I've just scooted over a little bit so I can pop in a picture of my completed items. So my goals for August were, number 1, to finish the pair of socks for Dennis. I did that. The next goal was to finish my August Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. I did that. The next one was to finish my Isabella Shrug. I did that. I showed that last week. And then the final goal was to finish the taffeta top. Okay, so the taffeta top, we need to talk. I have not touched the taffeta top since I showed it to you the last time. I made a pretty good amount of progress on it, and I kind of knew heading towards the end of the summer that I was going to be putting that project away and maybe bringing it back out next year as the warmer weather started to come back. The more and more I think about it, the more I'm doubting that decision. So lately, if you have, there's been a couple of projects that you've seen me do this with. When I decide I want to put something aside, or I just don't want to work on that project at the moment, and I think, okay, I'll just put it aside, I've started asking myself, okay, if you put this project aside, are you going to pick it back up? And if I can tell myself, yes, I do think I would pick that back up, then I can put it aside and I will get back to it. So a good example of that is the Cumulus blouse, which is a sweater I was working on earlier in the summer, and I just decided it wasn't something I wanted to work with over the hot days going out to the park, and I put it aside knowing pretty confidently that I would bring it back out. So when I asked myself this question recently about the taffeta top, if I put the taffeta top aside and bring it back out next year, do I think I'm actually going to do that and bring it out? And the answer was I don't think I will. I cast it on because I wanted a nice little project to carry around with me to the library, to the park. It was a very easy stitch pattern to memorize. And for that, it worked perfectly. But I've kind of lost my drive to actually have that finished object. I've mentioned before that I am very much a process knitter. To have the finished project at the end isn't the big draw for me. It's the process of making the item that I really, really enjoy, and it's part of the reason why I give away a lot of my items. I just don't feel the attachment to the finished item. I don't feel the need to keep it. I do like my socks because I have found that they are very comfortable and very functional, but I don't tend to keep a lot of things. I give a lot of things away. So this was a garment that was going to be for myself, and looking at it now, I don't think I'm going to finish it. So instead of putting it aside just for it to sit in my, UFO pile for how many more months, I think before the fall gets here, I think I'm going to rip it out. I'm going to rip it out. I'm going to put the yarn back in my stash and maybe bring the yarn out next summer and think of another pattern for it. I do think the yarn might have been a little not quite right for the overall design, but we can figure that out another time. For now, I think I'm going to rip it out and just stash it away. So my goals for September, I tried to keep them fairly doable because I did mention that I have this very large order that has to be done by the end of September, and I don't know how much knitting time I'm going to have because I'm going to have to spend most of my day reaching my daily quota, and then I might have a little time in the evening, so I didn't want to give myself any big goals. So my goals for September are to finish my September Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. I think I should be fine with that. To finish my cumulus. Now, if you remember, I left off, I was working on the body, so I just have to finish the body and then the sleeves. I might not get that done, but I finish it anyway because, hey, why not? The third goal is to finish the first sock of the pair of socks that I'm going to be casting on for Dennis, so his fourth pair of gift socks. I just want to finish the first sock. I want to work on the owl blanket. I will get to that when I talk about my bingo card update. And then finally, I just said cast on something related to my bingo. So when I start talking about my bingo card and what I still have to do for it, you'll see that there's lots of squares with lots of projects that I still have to complete. So one of my goals for September is just going to be to cast on a project. I don't know which one yet, but cast on something that works towards fulfilling one of the squares that is still yet to be completed. So those are my goals for September and how I did in August. So now we are going to talk about my bingo card. So I think I'm going to scoot over again so I can put up a picture of what it looks like now. So there we go, the picture should be up. So we're just going to go through my squares and see how I've been doing and kind of talk about what's left and talk about what direction I'm thinking I'm going to have to go, because I think some things have kind of changed compared to what my plans were earlier in the year. So if we start, I'm going to start at the top left corner. So the first one is to finish 5 adult garments, and I have finished 2 so far. If I finish the cumulus, that will be the third, and then I still have 2 left. Honestly, I think if any of the squares I'm going to have trouble finishing, it's going to be this one. I did pick out some other goals that I was kind of gearing towards completing adult sweaters, but 4 months, I don't want to say that I'm not a fast sweater knitter, because I can be, but when I've got a lot of other stuff going on, or if I've got I enjoy small projects like socks and kid garments and stuff like that, I just don't tend to whip the adult sweaters out. So to say I'm going to finish 3 more by the end of December, I can't guarantee that, so we're just going to have to see how that goes. So the next 2 squares I had completed, and then the next one after that is still empty, is to make a color work accessory. I think I can do this. So my original thought with making this square was there's this cowl that I really wanted to make, this kind of stranded knit cowl. and I might still be able to do that. I think I could do a cowl in the 4-month time frame, but if I think that's not in the cards, there is a hat that I've seen that is really, really cute for Avery. If I think of it and I can find the pictures of specific projects that I'm thinking of, I will pop them up as I'm talking about them. But there's a hat that I saw that I thought would be really, really cute for Avery for the winter. And I think I might try and do that one instead of the cowl, depending on which one I think would take less time. So the next one after that I have completed. Going down to the next row, I completed the next one after that. And then it's use 10 patterns acquired before 2019. And I think I only have 2 more of these to finish. So if I finish the Cumulus, that will count towards one of them, and then I will only have to do 1 more. So I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do this square, because some project that I do in the next 4 months shouldn't be too difficult to pull from my pattern library on Ravelry. So I'm not too worried about that one. The next one is complete 1 kit from stash. So I think one of the things I might do this month is go through my kits. I have an idea of which kit I wanted to do for this goal, but I might have a look at all the kits that I have and just see if there's one that maybe I want to do more or that might be faster. But I do think I can still finish that. That's one that even if I had to leave it to, like, if it was December, like the last 2 weeks of December, and I needed to whip that one out, I think I could do that. So I'm not going to be putting all my focus on that goal. So the next 2 goals going across I have completed. Going down to the 3rd row, we have figure out my knitting machine and make an item with it. This should be an easy goal. It should be something that if I had the time I could do in an afternoon. I do have my knitting machine out of the box. I have looked at all the pieces. I have looked at the instructions. I think it's something I can figure out. And to just say make an item, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. So this is also one that might end up being pushed to November, December-ish, while I focus on the things that will take more time, because I feel like once I sit down with the machine and really kind of focus on it, I could figure it out within a day or 2. And, you know, even if I just make a piece of fabric and, you know, turn that into something, that still fulfills that goal. So that one's gonna, I think it's doable, but I'm gonna not focus on that one right away. The next one is to knit a half circle shawl. So in my winter accessory wardrobe currently, I have a Stephen West exploration station that I made in fingering weight yarn that I love. I don't wear a lot of my hand knits, but this is one that I wear all the time during the winter. But I've always wished that I had something that was similar in shape but just a little bit heavier. And so I've looked at other patterns, I've looked at other ideas, and I'm not finding something that I want that's exactly what I'm thinking. So what I've actually decided is I think I'm going to make another exploration station, but make it in DK weight yarn. That is something I really want to do. Like, I don't want to modify this at all. Like, it would still have to be a half circle shawl to complete the goal, but I don't want to be like, oh, I'll just make, you know, a smaller one, or I'll make one for Avery or something like that. I really want a DK weight exploration station. So I feel like this is going to have to be something that I start fairly soon, either in the month of September or October at the latest, if I want to be able to finish it by the end of the year and in time to enjoy it over the cooler months. So the next one I completed, the one after that, use 3 sock blanks from stash. I have only 2 more to do, and I'm pretty sure that at least one of those is going to be another pair of micro stripe socks. That's how I used the first sock blank, and I had so much fun with that. It was so much fun to do. I want to make at least 1 more pair. If I don't have time to do a 3rd pair, what I'm thinking of doing is winding one of my sock blanks up into a cake and then doubling it and then making like an accessory or something like that. So the foundation of this goal is I have a bunch of sock blanks. I haven't really used any of them. I just want to get them out of my stash, so they don't necessarily have to be socks. So that is what I'm thinking for that one. Definitely at least 1 more pair of micro stripe socks, and then that 3rd one might become a worsted weight accessory by doubling the sock blank. So the next one, this is where we start to get into goals where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do on these. The next one is to make another faded garment. So when I made this goal, that intention was to make a faded garment for myself. At this point, because there's this square and there's another square that is a garment specific square, I don't think I'm going to be able to make myself 2 full garments by the end of the year. So one of them is going to have to be kind of shifted slightly. So there's this one, and then I'll talk about the other one in a moment, and then we'll kind of talk about them together. So make another faded garment is one of my goals. I'm not sure. So down to the next row, I completed 3 of those, and then finish 2 UFOs from 2018 or earlier. So this is where the owl blanket that I mentioned previously comes in. So I actually don't have a lot of standing UFOs right now, but the ones I have, I do want to finish. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. So I've decided that the one I want to finish next, I've already finished one, I just have one more to do, and then I can mark this goal off, is my hand-spun owl blanket. And I don't know if you'll remember these. I'm going to try and find one that's an actual owl piece. I talked about this. I think there was an episode I did where I went through all of my project bags and decided which things I was going to keep and which things I was going to rip out. And so I did show this, and this is one of the ones I wanted to keep. I started this when Avery was little. It was supposed to be a blanket for her. I don't know if she would still be interested in having this blanket, but there's just all these little crochet motifs. This is an owl piece. You can see it's got the 2 little ears, and then there are round pieces that are just circles, and there are square pieces. There's just a whole bunch of different motifs, and then I have to put it all together. I think all the motifs themselves are done. I just have to do the edging. So you can see, like on this one here, there's this colored center and then this blue and purple speckled border. So all of these pieces need the border. There's pieces that need the border. There's pieces that have the border. I think I have to do more of these little wedgy things, and then I have to join everything and do a border around the whole thing. And the whole blanket is done in hand spun, and that's kind of what has prolonged this project and made it to be taking this much time, is that I keep having to spin more yarn for that kind of border color. And so I recently, I think last year, I spun some more and I have it ready to go, and I just need to sit down with it and see how far that yarn will take me. But this is going to be the project that I want to complete to finish off that square. So the next square after that is to knit at least 4 pairs of socks for hubby. I just finished number 3. I'm about to cast on number 4. I am not worried about that square at all. So going down to the final row, make a retirement cross stitch. There's this motif, I mentioned this before. There's this little saying about retirement and knitting, and how, you know, my retirement plan is to knit basically. And I just want to make a little, kind of like this guy here, how it's on like a little square cross stitch frame. I want to make another one of those with this little saying. And the only thing holding me back from this is designing the actual graph. So there's no ready-made graph out there. I've looked up kind of chart generators, and it's just, it's a process. It's a process to get. If I just try and kind of upload a picture in there, the ones that I have are not clear enough. It ends up being very grainy. It's not crisp. So I have to basically, I think, print out a graph and do it by hand. And so it's just, that's what's holding me back. It's going to take time, but once I get that graph done, because it's just words, I don't think I'm really going to do any pictures, the actual project shouldn't take me very long. I just need to do the graph. And then the final square that is still yet to be completed is to make a sweater incorporating hand spun. So going back to the other one, which was make another faded garment. Like I said, those 2 originally were to be sweaters for myself. So I was going to make another faded garment, maybe like a faded boxy or something like that. And then the sweater incorporating hand spun, I picked out a sweater earlier this year. I think I did it as a pattern highlight. I thought it was really pretty. It had a color work motif going along the yoke, and I even spun a skein of hand spun to put into that colored yoke, and that's what I was planning on doing. I don't think I'm going to have time to do both of those. I might try and do one of them. So depending on which one I choose to do, I'm thinking of trying to fill the other one by making a sweater for Avery. I usually do like to make her something, you know, for Christmas or in the fall somewhere. And so either I can make her a sweater incorporating handspun and then make a faded garment for myself, or make myself that that colorwork sweater with the handspun and then make her a faded garment. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do both for myself, but somehow I might be able to still fulfill those 2 squares. Worst case scenario, I guess I can make 2 child garments to fulfill those squares, and then, because I still really do want those sweaters that I was originally thinking of, is kind of move that to my goals for next year, and then try and complete them then, because at least then I'll have those 2 squares done. I might not finish the Finish 5 Adult Garments box, but I'll have finished the 2 boxes. So basically we are just going to have to see how things play out, how much time I have. I'm probably going to start with the smaller projects and just work from there and see what I have time for, other than if there's any projects that I absolutely know that I want completed, like the exploration station. I'll probably have to start those soon. But that is how my bingo squares are kind of going. If you are participating in the Crafty Bingo, I would love to know how you are doing. There is a group if you're interested in checking out how people are doing in my Linger String group on Ravelry. There is a thread for the Crafty Bingo. You can go see how other people are doing. I don't know if there's, I mean, I say you can join at any time. So if this is the first time that you've heard of Crafty Bingo, technically you can join at any time. If you think you can figure out about 24 goals that you can still finish by the end of the year, you are absolutely welcome to join. But otherwise, I will be starting it again in January for the next year, so it might be fun to start kind of planning and thinking about what kind of goals you might want to do if this seems like something that would be fun and that you might be interested in participating in. So other than that, that is all the knitting that I have to share with you today. I do have a few little clips that I'm going to throw in at the end of Avery. She made another one of her cardboard box creations. Oh my goodness, this child in cardboard boxes. I think we have at least 20 in the house right now. Now granted, it will take her, she will work on one of those things all afternoon, which is lovely. I can get a few things done, but she doesn't want to get rid of any of them. So we have all these boxes, all these creations. She made another one this week for her LOLs, and she wanted to share what she did with you. So we did a little video clip of that. I'll have that in. I also took a few little pictures and a few little clips up from the zoo that we went to, so I will put that in. But before I throw that in, I just want to say thank you so much. So last week when I talked about my big wholesale order that I was going to be working on, and I wasn't sure what kind of content I was going to be able to do over the next couple of weeks, you guys were just so supportive, and a lot of you said, you know what, if you need to take a break from podcasting, do that, do what you need to do. Other people, you were like, you know what, whatever you have to talk about is fine. It doesn't have to be, you know, a lot of content. And I just want to thank you for just making it so, you know, so easy. I don't have to, I knew you guys would be fine with it. But like I said, I do still plan on doing a weekly episode. It's something I really enjoy. I just didn't know how much knitting I would have to share with you. So another thing I asked is if you had any other kind of chatty topics that you wanted me to talk about. And there were a few suggestions. So I just want to mention some of them here. And if you hear one that you are interested in, comment below, let me know. And that way I know which ones to kind of start forming, you know, making notes on and stuff like that. So some of the ideas were that over the course of this year, I have been sharing my progress on just minimizing household expenses and really using what we already have in the house and not just buying things and, you know, restocking and having backups all everywhere, and just really making use of items that I've already spent money on. And so I think I've done 2 updates on that so far, and so one of the suggestions was another update on how that is going now that we are approaching the end of the year. Another suggestion was to talk about so last October I made the decision to cut out the bulk of like unnecessary carbs and excess sugars and stuff like that from my diet, and that has been going really, really well. And so a suggestion was talking about that, how I did it, maybe just some tips and stuff on what made some things easier to cut out than others, because I haven't cut, like, you know, 100%. It's not 100% gone. That is not realistic for me, but I have found that there's been lots of things I've been able to do just to make it a simpler process and something that I could see taking, you know, long term. So that was another suggestion. Just how I pick yarn from my stash, because I do primarily focus on using yarn from my stash for my projects. I have just really cut back on purchasing new yarn. So how I pick yarn, how I match them to projects was another suggestion. Another suggestion was to show some older projects, so maybe things that I completed many years ago or over the last, you know, however long that I've been knitting that you may not have seen. And I have a lot of knitwear, especially children's garments that I've knit over the last, you know, 8 years or so that I have stashed away, and it might be fun to bring some of those out and talk about the patterns and talk about the yarns and talk about, you know, why I wanted to make them. So bringing back old projects was another suggestion. So I think that covers most of the ones that I remember. If you have any other suggestions, please feel free to leave them below. If any of those sound interesting to you, let me know so that I can start kind of making notes and stuff like that. But I think that's everything that I wanted to chat about this week. Like I said, I will put Avery's little clips on at the end here. But other than that, I hope you have a fabulous weekend filled with lots and lots of crafting, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Hi, my name is Avery, and I just made a boy club yesterday and today. This is how it looks like, and this is the baby boy girl, and look, peekaboo. This is Treasure, this girl, that's little skater boy, and this is little coconut, that's very little. Okay, and here's the first big LOL boy. And on my first try, I got golden, as you see the glittery hair. And of course, it has all the features of a boy. It even has headphones. And here's it inside. There's a dirty sock right there. Here's a television, a boy stuff. Here's King Bee's water bottle. And that like fits on a LOL doll with no long sleeve, and I made that out of Play-Doh. And I use rocks as little cushions. I know that it's not really comfy, but yeah. And I made these lamps so they could slide down from these toilet paper rolls. And it says boy club right here because like it's a boy club. And I used a glitter glue top. Once I used all the glitter glue side for this. And I even before I made like little vases, I don't know. And here's the tube right here in this corner, and like that's it. And I use glitter glue. Actual glitter glue takes a long time to dry. And this is shimmery glue that I never seen before. So bye.
Here it comes. Let's see. Oh, it's picking up something on the ground.
You want to go over there, honey?
Nope.
It
off
could
the
be
ground.
eat
So
a
let's just go,
banana
okay?
peel.
If
They
you
eat
the Big
everything.
Daddy, you'll probably eat it, but probably not the mommy. Going for the Big Daddy? Okay. The mommies are shy.